Today we were joined by Joanne Black on our live sales lab, and I was so excited that she joined us today. And if you don't know who Joanne is, let me tell you. Joanne Black is America's leading authority on referral selling. She's not bragging though. Her publisher told her that, and she's taking ownership of it, as she should. Now, I believe, and Joanne does, referrals work whether you're looking for a job, you want a promotion, you need more clients, or if you're looking for a date. Joanne is a contrarian thinker who believes that no salesperson ever should have to cold call or send cold emails or send sales pitches through social media. She founded her business in 1996 when she discovered that even though referrals were the number one way to generate quality sales leads, no organizations have a proven referral methodology. She's written 2 books, No More Cold Calling, The Breakthrough System That Will Leave Your Competition in the Dust, and my personal favorite, Pick Up the Damn Phone, How People, Not Technology, Seal the Deal. Joanne, thank you for joining us today. And I have to ask, we all want to get more referrals, but we're not asking. Why is that? What have you seen happen?
Oh, there's lots of reasons. But first, before anybody can ask, they have to have a strategy. They have to have metrics for referrals. Who am I going to ask? How many meetings do I need? Increases in revenue. It's actually a skill. Referral selling is a skill. It's a behavior change. We need to build the skills. We need to be accountable and have that reinforcement and coaching. So that's what it takes. We can teach that. People can learn that. But here's the elephant in the room, Carol. There's our personal stuff, my technical term, that gets in the way. Mm-hmm. So it's a fear of rejection. I mean, referral selling is so very personal. We actually put our reputations on the line when we ask. And the biggest fear is they might say no. Huge fear. What if they say no? It would be devastating. I didn't do a good enough job. They don't like me, whatever it is. But it's even harder when we ask our clients. However, no matter what stage we're in, the elephant in the room is this fear of referral rejection. Mm-hmm. But it's more than one. So I've developed these 5 levels of referral rejection, which is very similar to what you talk about in your layering questions, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting too, because when we were talking on the lab, you were talking about these 5 different levels of rejection. And the first one is that people are afraid to ask. They're afraid to ask someone for that particular referral. And can you tell us a little bit about what those other layers are that we don't even really consider and think about maybe?
Right. So but the first is asking for the introduction. So that's my definition of referral. You know, we tend to ask, take a name and run. We're so excited. But what we want is an introduction. Because if you just get a name and call someone, I define that as a cold call. The person doesn't know you, doesn't know who you are, and is not interested in talking to you. So the one is the fear of even asking for the introduction, for the fear of sounding pushy, salesy, in your face, sleazy, like a used car salesman. So we don't want to do that. So that's number one. Once we get the introduction, the second fear is we need to ask about that person we're being introduced to. And here's why. We think, oh my gosh, you know, they were nice enough to give me an introduction. Now I'm asking for more of their time to explain what it is about the person. How do you know the person? What is it you can tell me? What's their personality? What are they like? All of that. That's the second fear. The third is, why do you think that person would be interested in talking to me? So what's the business reason? So you're learning even more about the person. And then the fourth is, what's the best way for you to introduce me? Is it in person? Is it email? Is it phone? And if it's email, then I always offer to send the email with the key salient points from our conversation. And it's a few short lines with options for times to meet and no attachments. Carol, just simple.
No brochures attached.
Nothing. Just the goal is to get the meeting, and always remember the goal. So that's the fourth. And then the fifth is asking them, when will you be able to make the introduction? So none of those questions can be answered by no.
Yeah. And it's
Right.
what's interesting is that a lot of times we hear referrals, they happen faster because you're transferring trust, the value of them is higher. And sometimes in our brains, we think that they're going to be easier, and that means we don't have to ask the questions. But just as if you were to ask layered questions to understand how someone is thinking, you need to ask through those 5 levels of rejection when you're asking for a referral. And so thank you so much for joining us for that today. And Joanne, I hear that you're actually doing, for the first time in years, you're doing a course for the summer for individual salespeople. And I think it's happening on Tuesdays. Can you tell us just really quickly about that? And I'm going to include a link for everyone for more information.
Absolutely. So for those of you who really are dedicated and want to be accountable for building referrals and making that the way you work all the time, so it's dependable and intentional, that's what we're going to do during the series. It begins on Tuesday, July 16th, 8:30 Pacific, and the last session is August 30th. Lots of details about it on my website.
Awesome. Yes. And I'll just tell everybody, I went through this course several years ago. It's where over 80% of my business for Unbound Growth comes from. Joanne is a delight to work with. And I think you said, Joanne, there's only 18 spots, and I think we have like 16 or 15 left right now.
I think it's 15 now. Yeah. And it's not even live on the site yet. This is just people I've been talking to. Yeah.
Because guess what? Referrals work. Imagine that. So
Imagine.
all right. Thank you again for joining us, Joanne. I will put the link to your course below. I'll also include links for everyone to join us for the next live sales lab. And thanks again for joining us. Until then.